Welcome to Learn English with Podcast. Today, our amazing hosts, Luca and Maria, are here to take you through another exciting episode. Luca, Maria, over to you.
Imagine making these tiny improvements every day, and then like a year later, you're almost 37 times better at something.
It sounds almost unbelievable, doesn't it?
It really does. But that's the potential we're talking about with just, getting 1% better daily.
Mm-hmm.
And we know you're here because you want to get solid knowledge, but efficiently. And, well, that's what we're aiming for today.
Yeah, we've been looking into some fascinating ideas around personal growth.
And the goal is really to pull out the most useful, the most actionable bits for you without it feeling overwhelming.
Think of it as getting straight to the good stuff, how these little habits, these small mindset tweaks can actually make a big difference.
Exactly. And look, putting these deep dives together takes a lot of work behind the scenes.
It really does.
So if you find this valuable, if you appreciate the effort, please do take a second to hit like, maybe share it, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep doing this for you.
Definitely appreciate the support. It makes a big difference. But yeah, it's amazing how those tiny daily actions compound.
It really shifts the perspective, right? It's not always about these huge, drastic changes.
No, exactly. Slow and steady often wins the race when it comes to, well, improving ourselves. It's about those small wins adding up over time, not some overnight transformation.
Okay, so let's dig into the foundation then. How we actually structure our days. We looked at being really intentional with daily routines.
Right. Instead of just, letting the day happen to you.
Yeah, like consciously deciding how you use your time, your energy, your focus right from the start.
It's about setting up a framework, really, pinpointing those key habits, maybe reading, exercise, a bit of planning, gratitude things that actually line up with your goals.
And then making them regular, consistent.
Yeah, that's the crucial part, isn't it? How many of us really feel in control of our time? A routine helps take that control back.
And it's not just about being busy.
No, it's intentional busyness, focused on habits that support where you want to go. And like you said, consistency is everything. Eventually, those routines become almost automatic.
Frees up brain space.
Totally. Which leads nicely into another idea for the morning.
The phone-free morning.
Yes, that one really stood out. It's amazing how grabbing your phone first thing can just throw you off.
Puts you straight into reaction mode, right?
Yeah.
Distraction, emails, notifications, before you've even had coffee.
Exactly. The suggestion was literally keep the phone away from the bed. Research actually shows that dopamine hit from notifications first thing. It can hijack your attention, spike cortisol.
Sets a reactive tone for the whole day.
And there's a sleep connection too, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. That blue light first thing or even late at night, it messes with our natural sleep patterns.
Right, it suppresses melatonin production. Melatonin's that key hormone for our sleep-wake cycle. Blue light basically tells your brain, nope, not sleep time.
So keeping the phone away isn't just about mindfulness in the morning.
It's setting you up for better sleep later, too. A double win.
Okay, so phone's away. What's next for a mindful start? Hydration and movement came up?
Yeah, simple but powerful. You wake up naturally dehydrated after hours of sleep.
So just a glass of water can kind of jumpstart your metabolism.
Exactly. And pair that with some gentle movement. Doesn't have to be intense, just stretching, maybe a little yoga.
Wakes up the body and mind better than just caffeine.
Often, yeah. Gets the circulation going, releases endorphins. It's a much more sustainable way to energize.
It's interesting how these small physical things have such a big knock-on effect mentally.
They're deeply connected. A bit of water, a bit of movement seems basic, but it really sets the stage for better brain function and energy all day.
Then there's the purely mental side, starting with, say, gratitude or just stillness.
Right. Taking a moment, either thinking about things you're thankful for, or even just sitting quietly, focusing on your breath.
Training the mind to focus. Cultivating clarity.
Pretty much. Creating that mental space before the day pulls you everywhere. Mindfulness, basically just being present without judgment. Listing 3 things you're grateful for instance.
And how does that help long term?
Well, it builds emotional resilience. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance, And stillness creates a kind of buffer against stress.
So you're proactively managing your mental state.
Instead of just reacting, yeah.
Okay, and then capitalizing on that morning energy, the idea was to tackle your most important goals first.
Right. Use those peak energy hours for the meaningful stuff. Writing, creating, planning, whatever it is for you before you get sucked into emails and messages.
Be proactive, not reactive. Set your own agenda.
It builds momentum, gives you a sense of accomplishment early on. It's about knowing your own energy cycles, too. Work with them, not against them.
Makes sense. So we had a good morning. How do we keep that energy and focus going? Midday movement was a big one.
Yeah, getting away from the desk, even short breaks.
Like a quick walk or some stretching. How does that actually help the brain?
It boosts blood flow, gets more oxygen to the brain, helps clear out stress hormones like cortisol. It combats that afternoon slump we all feel sometimes.
Improves concentration.
Yeah,
Maybe you spark some creativity too.
definitely. It's a simple way to recharge your mental batteries without needing more caffeine.
And food plays a part too, obviously.
Yeah.
Intentional eating.
Absolutely. Focusing on nutrient-dense foods, lean proteins, healthy fats, fruits, veggies.
For sustained energy, right? Avoiding the crash you get from processed stuff and sugar.
Exactly. Those foods provide a steady release of energy. It's not just about avoiding the crash, it's about giving your brain the fuel it needs to actually focus. Things like omega-3s in fish, antioxidants in berries, they support cognitive function.
So it's directly feeding your focus.
Pretty much. Good food, good mood, good focus, plus listening to your body, eating mindfully.
Okay, and then the way we work. The whole multitasking thing.
Ah, yes. The myth of multitasking.
The recommendation was strongly towards single tasking, deep focus.
Because honestly, our brains aren't built for it. When we think we're multitasking, we're actually just switching our attention back and forth really quickly.
Which is less efficient.
Much less. Leads to mental fatigue, more mistakes, and you usually end up taking longer overall.
So focusing fully on one thing at a time. Better quality, more done.
That's the idea. Maybe blocking out specific times for deep work, those high concentration tasks, and separating them from shallow work like emails. Turn off notifications during deep work.
Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
All right, so as the day starts to wrap up, what about winding down effectively? Evening reflection came up.
Yeah, just a really simple habit, like one sentence. What went well today?
Okay.
And then, what's the one key thing I need to do tomorrow?
I like that. Reinforces the positive, provides direction.
Precisely. Helps you learn from the day, gives a sense of closure, and sets you up mentally for the next morning. It's small, but it creates focus.
And just like the phone-free morning, there's the screen-free evening.
Crucial. That blue light again, messing with melatonin.
Right. Negatively impacting sleep quality. The advice was screens off at least an hour before bed.
Yeah, minimum. Swap the scrolling for something relaxing, reading a physical book, journaling, maybe some light stretching or mindfulness again.
Protecting that sleep is so important.
It affects everything. Energy, mood, productivity, learning. That screen-free buffer before bed is huge for self-care, often overlooked.
And staying on that theme of growth, continuous learning.
Even just a little bit each day, reading, listening to discussions like this one, maybe an online course.
The compounding effect again, right?
Exactly. It expands your knowledge, builds skills, keeps your mind sharp. Aiming for maybe 15, 30 minutes of focused learning daily. It builds curiosity.
Fosters that open-mindedness. And speaking of open-mindedness, embracing change.
Yeah, that was a key mindset point. Seeing change not as something scary, but as an opportunity.
For growth, new possibilities.
Right. It helps build resilience, adaptability, shifting from fearing change to kind of welcoming its potential, seeing challenges as chances to grow.
Easier said than done sometimes, though.
Oh, for sure. Which ties into the next point. Cultivating patience.
The instant gratification problem.
Exactly. Trusting the process. Meaningful stuff takes time, persistence. We need to resist comparing our journey to others and just enjoy the small steps.
Okay, let's shift fully into mindset now.
Yeah.
A big one was perfection isn't the goal.
Yes, this is so important. Forget flawlessness. Focus on consistency with those small habits.
Just showing up, even imperfectly.
That's what leads to real progress. It frees you from that procrastination spiral, that self-doubt that comes from trying to be perfect. Steady, incremental improvement wins.
And to make it feel less daunting,
Yeah.
start with just one habit.
Right. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one thing that aligns with your goals. Exercise, journaling, reading, whatever.
Build that foundation first.
Exactly. Action is more important than perfect execution initially. Get that one habit going. Then you can layer others on top later. It makes it feel achievable.
Creates that positive reinforcement cycle. Another crucial aspect, protecting your time and energy. Setting boundaries.
Absolutely essential. Being clear about what you're willing and unwilling to do.
And communicating that.
Effectively, yeah. And also recognizing your own energy limits. Saying no sometimes is necessary to avoid burnout.
It's really an act of self-respect, isn't it?
Totally. It lets you prioritize what matters to you. Use your energy in ways that align with your values, prevents you feeling overstretched and resentful.
Taking ownership.
Exactly.
And there's gratitude again as a mindset practice.
Such a powerful one. Consciously shifting focus from what you lack to what you have.
Like keeping a gratitude journal.
Yeah, or just taking a moment each day. It genuinely reduces negative emotions, promotes contentment, appreciating the small joys.
Trains your brain to see the good.
It really does. Enhances overall well-being significantly.
And just as we manage our internal state, we need to manage external influences too.
Yeah, your environment matters, the people you spend time with, the media you consume, even your physical space.
So limiting time with negativity. Prioritizing positive, inspiring influences.
It makes a huge difference. Surrounding yourself with positivity creates a much better atmosphere for growth.
And underpinning a lot of this, trusting yourself.
The foundation, really, for confidence, for resilience.
How do you build that?
Recognizing past successes helps. Taking action, even small steps, builds belief in your abilities. And crucially, viewing mistakes not as failures, but as learning opportunities.
Reframing failure.
Exactly. It's that deep inner knowing that you can handle challenges. Built through experience and self-compassion, essential for sticking with goals.
Which connects to challenging yourself, right?
Yeah.
Growth happens outside the comfort zone.
It really does. Taking on new tasks, maybe small risks. It expands your limits, develops skills, builds confidence when you overcome that initial discomfort.
And if you do fail,
learning from it is key. See it as data, not disaster. Failure is part of the process, gives you a chance to reflect, adjust, refine your approach.
separate your self-worth from the outcome.
Absolutely. Use it as motivation to try again, maybe differently.
And finally, bringing it all together, seeking balance.
Yeah, managing time and energy across different areas, work, relationships, personal growth, self-care.
To avoid feeling overwhelmed. Lead a more fulfilling life.
Right. It means consciously prioritizing self-care, regularly checking in on how you're spending your time and energy. It's an ongoing adjustment.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly circle back. The core ideas seem to be the incredible power of small, consistent steps.
That 1% idea.
Yeah. And the importance of being intentional about our days, our habits.
Structuring for success, you could say.
And underpinning it all, the absolutely vital role of our mindset, fostering growth, building resilience.
Definitely. And maybe the big question for you listening right now is, what's one small habit, just one thing from all this discussion that you could realistically start doing, like today or tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a great takeaway question. Think about that one thing. And then imagine sticking with just that one small change consistently. How could that compound over the next few months?
What could the long-term impact of that seemingly tiny daily action be?
Exactly. Food for thought. This has been quite an exploration into some really powerful concepts.
We really hope these insights give you some practical, actionable things to work with on your own journey.
Absolutely. We're definitely excited about future deep dives into other compelling topics, too.
For sure.
And just that final reminder, we put a lot of heart and effort into creating these explorations. If you found this valuable today,
please do consider hitting that like button, sharing it, and subscribing.
It genuinely helps us continue to bring this kind of content to you and to others who are looking to learn and grow. Thanks for tuning in.
I used to believe that success came from working nonstop. No breaks, no excuses, just pure hustle. That's what I had read in books, seen in motivational videos, and heard in countless interviews. If you want to achieve something big, you have to sacrifice everything else, right? At least that's what I thought, until I broke down in the middle of a big presentation. My name's Sophia, and a few years ago I landed what I thought was my dream job, marketing manager at a fast-growing tech startup. I was thrilled. The kind of thrilled that made me skip dinners, pull all-nighters, and even work weekends without a second thought. I was determined to prove myself, to my boss, my coworkers, and especially to myself. I wanted to be known as the woman who delivered results no matter what. For the first few months, things were great. I got praised for my dedication, for always being on, for handling multiple campaigns at once. I thought I was winning. But behind that praise, there was a silent war going on. My sleep schedule was wrecked. I stopped going to the gym. I hadn't seen my closest friends in months, and my relationship with my boyfriend had started to fall apart. Every time he asked, "Can we spend some time together this weekend?" I would say, "Just this one project, babe. Next week I promise." But that week never came. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Thursday morning and I was supposed to present the most important marketing strategy of the quarter. I had spent over a month preparing it, skipping meals, working late nights. The boardroom was full. My team, the CEO, and a few investors sat around the table, ready to hear my plan. I opened my laptop, clicked on the presentation, and stood up. And then, everything went black. I don't remember falling. I just remember waking up to the sound of people calling my name, my head throbbing, and my heart racing. I had fainted. In the middle of the biggest presentation of my career. An ambulance was called and I was taken to the hospital. The doctor told me what I already knew but refused to admit. I was exhausted. My body had given me warning signs: headaches, insomnia, irritability, but I had ignored all of them. I thought burnout was something that happened to other people, not me. But there I was, lying on a hospital bed, completely drained both mentally and physically. The days that followed were some of the hardest. I felt embarrassed, ashamed, and honestly like a failure. I kept thinking, how could I let this happen? But as I lay in bed, away from emails and deadlines, I started to reflect. I realized that I had been chasing success at the cost of everything else. My health, my relationships, my peace. I hadn't found success. I had lost balance. It was during those quiet moments that I remembered something my grandfather once told me when I was a kid. He said, "Life is like walking on a rope. Lean too far in one direction and you fall." Back then I didn't understand what he meant. But now it made perfect sense. I began to ask myself tough questions. What is success if you're too tired to enjoy it? What's the point of working hard if you're too stressed to smile? The truth hit me hard. I had failed, but not in the way I thought. My failure wasn't the fainting or the missed presentation. My real failure was not respecting the limits of my body and mind. But instead of letting that failure define me, I decided to learn from it. The next few weeks became a period of deep reflection and healing. I took a leave of absence from work and focused on rebuilding my life, not just my career. I started going for walks in the morning, something I hadn't done in years. I spent time with my boyfriend, really spent time without checking my phone every 2 minutes. I met up with old friends and even apologized for being distant. Slowly, I began to rediscover a version of myself that I had lost in the chaos. A version that smiled more, laughed louder, and didn't check emails during dinner. And surprisingly, the more I stepped away from the grind, the more ideas I had. Creative ideas. Fresh perspectives. Things I had been too tired to even think about before. When I finally returned to work, I was honest with my team. I shared what had happened, and to my surprise, many of them admitted they were feeling the same pressure. That day we decided to change how we worked. We set boundaries. We took real breaks. We encouraged each other to leave the office on time. It wasn't about working less. It was about working smarter. A few months later, I got another chance to present my marketing strategy. This time I walked into the boardroom feeling refreshed and confident. I delivered the presentation smoothly and it was approved on the spot. But more importantly, I walked out of that room with my head held high. Not because I nailed the strategy, but because I had found balance. And here's the thing. Life didn't become perfect. There were still stressful days and tight deadlines. But I had learned to listen to myself, to recognize when I needed to slow down, and to accept that balance wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. I also stopped fearing failure. Before, I thought failure was something to hide. Now I see it as a teacher. That one day in the hospital taught me more than any success ever had. It taught me that failure isn't the end. It's just a redirection, a reminder to pause, learn, and grow. So, if you're reading this and you're in the middle of your own storm, maybe you're juggling too many things, burning out, or chasing a goal so hard that you're losing yourself in the process, I hope my story reminds you of something important. Success means nothing without balance, and failure is not your enemy. It's your guide. Today I'm still working in marketing, but I live differently. I protect my mornings. I shut down my laptop at a decent hour. I say no when I need to, and I say yes to life more often. I've learned that the most successful people aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who get back up, wiser and stronger. And when I think about my journey, I don't regret the mistakes. I'm grateful for them. Because they taught me the most important lesson of all. Don't let your pursuit of success steal your peace. Find your balance, learn from your failures, and live a life you don't need a vacation from.
Thank you for watching. Your journey to better English and unstoppable confidence starts here. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep growing together. See you in the next video, champion.